Hey everyone, it's Jordan. So for Module 6, the first thing I have here is my ideal classroom and what it would look like for a blended learning environment. So the model that I decided to focus on would be the station rotation model. I just feel like with the makeup of students that I have and just our school environment, that would just be the best and most ideal model for my students to use. So down here at the bottom, this would be my classroom door when the students first walk in. And then over here in the center is where I would generally have the student desks. And this would be our whole group lesson. And actually for the station rotation model that I would have set up, this would actually be the first rotation. And each rotation has a specific name, so I call this one Math Together. And again, like I said, here's where we do the whole group lesson, focusing on the specific math content for the day. From there, then the students would break up into one of 3 rotations, and I would have a schedule set up so that their schedule would not be the same each day, and that way, as they're rotating to their different stations, it does vary a little bit through them or for them as the week progresses. So the first rotation here, I call Math with Him, and that's my small group instruction, and I would have that set up here in the front of my room. So I would have a couple of small group tables, and ideally I would have about 6 to 8 students per group. This past school year I had 24 students in my class, so it was 8 kids per group. But here, this would be the front of my classroom, so here's where I have my whiteboard, my projector. Over here, then I just have my desk area and kind of my supplies and things that I would keep over here for things that I would need for this small group instruction. And ideally for this rotation, this is where the students would, again, just get some reinforcement from the content that we're learning that day. Me be able to answer questions in a smaller group that would pertain to all of the kids in the group, or even individual questions, or just questions that only pertain to a couple of the kids in the group. So again, just their time to get more reinforcement with me. Down here then in this portion of my classroom, I have this station called Math with Me, and this would be the individual workstation, and this would be really the time for the blended learning to be taking place. So over here, the students would be able to pull their chairs up to these counters, and in my classroom, this is where I have my iPad charging stations and things like that that students would need for their devices. And here is where they would be able to do their online work. And the program that I use a lot of that goes right along with our curriculum is IXL. And IXL is great for those that have never used it or don't use it. It gives the kids models, it gives the kids examples. Sometimes there's short videos included that reinforce the concept, and you can program IXL to go right along with your specific curriculum. So for example, my school uses My Math as our 5th grade curriculum, so IXL is programmed right with My Math. So the language and everything is exactly the same the kids would be seeing. So this is where I would have them doing that individual work, different online assignments that I would assign to them. I also use a lot of Khan Academy to, again, post videos. I just post them right to my Math Schoology page for the students to watch, which again just reinforces the concept that I just taught whole group. But it gives them the opportunity to pause and go back and watch it again and hear it several times and just view it different ways as they're completing their online work. And hopefully, students find that beneficial for them during their independent work time. And also, I use those Khan Academy resources a lot because ideally when students are in this station, they wouldn't be leaving and coming to me and asking me questions. So again, that's a routine that I as a teacher have to set up at the beginning of the year and set those expectations for the students so they know how to manage and progress through this station individually without needing to come to me for any sort of support or even tech support either. Over here then, the next rotation that I would have, I call that Math with You. And in this rotation, students are grouped up, and this is where they practice their math facts. One of the big things I'm seeing, within my math classes is kids just simply don't know basic facts. And if you don't know basic facts, it's really hard to be successful. So I have this station set up, and I use something that's called incremental rehearsal. So the students take a pretest on, for example, in 5th grade, we do multiplication, division facts. Let's say they're working on, their 6 times tables. So they take a pretest based on that, and then after they do their pretest, they get their score. They set up what I call 9 knowns and 1 unknown. So within the 6 times tables, ideally, they would know 9 of them at least. So those would be their 9 knowns, and then their 1 unknown. So let's say, for example, they got stuck on 6 times 11. They don't know what that was. So that would be their unknown. So in this station, they would have the unknown be the same for 3 days. And in order to master the unknown, they have to get that unknown correct 3 days in a row. Once they do that, they can move on and have a new unknown, and they continue that same process until they have all the facts mastered within that set, and then they can move on to the next one. And then, again, ideally, 6 to 8 students per group here. Each student will partner off, and then the partners will work together on the incremental rehearsal. Once they finish that, then, if they have additional time, I have them use, again, different online programs that reinforce math facts. So I have them use Extra Math. I do a lot of SumDog, for those familiar with that one, and also Splash Learn, which is the program that I'm going to review here in the next segment. So for Splash Learn, then, that's a program that my district actually uses, so we have access to it. And it's one that is housed in Clever. So for those that may not be as familiar with Clever, it's basically a place to house a bunch of different resources. So students would go to their devices, log on to Clever, and then this is what their dashboard would look like. So they would just come over here and click on my page and then go into Splash Learn. And Splash Learn is really cool. For those that are not familiar with this, you can do a lot of really cool things with this. So over on the left-hand side here, this would be what your dashboard would look like. You do have a class code and a password, but again, for using Clever, that eliminates the need for the students to have to remember a password or type it in, which is really helpful. So over here, I can assign different things. So for example, I can go over here to New Assignment, and then we can either assign things based on content, or I can assign things based on Common Core standards and do it that way. And then once I create an assignment, then I'm able to track it as well. So I didn't create anything for this example, but if I did have an assignment created, I'd be able to track and monitor student progress very easily just right from my laptop. I can also choose to assess, so I can come over here and create a new assessment. And then again, I can pick different categories that I want to assess my students on, moving throughout the duration of the school year. And then again, if I did have an assessment created, so for this example, I just create a pretend geometry assessment. I can again go to reports. I can easily just look at the average class score, and then I can come down here and look specifically at, so up here, here's my class from this past school year. I can look at who didn't do it yet, who passed it, who failed it, and then based on their diagnostic, the things they got wrong or failed, I can assign those students specific plans. So this resource is really cool because, again, you can get into specific things, not just a one-size-fits-all. And then finally, over here, I can review, again, individual students. I can see who logged in today. So earlier, I was just logged in as Abigail, one of my students this past school year. But again, that charts it, for the whole week. I can see progress that was made. Up here, it's very easy to use. Mastered, satisfactory, can do better, needs attention for each of my students. And then down here again, just student progress. Same deal here. So for example, this is place value. If they were doing understanding tenths and hundredths, there would be 3 activities within there. And I could see who mastered them. And once they master them, they get a star. Real quick then, along with Splash Learn, you can go to student experience. So we can just quickly see. So for this example, I'll just log in as Aaron, one of my students from last year. And Splash Learn has a lot to offer on the student dashboard. So again, if I have assignments created, the students could find them there. They have a learning plan. So again, it's just right now it's on decimals, and it takes them through just the different skills within the standards within decimals. Students can use this for math facts practice as well, which I will sometimes do because this one's really nice because students can create custom assessments for them. So again, back to the incremental math facts practice, if they're focusing right now on their 6 times tables, again, they can change that to make this, multiplying by 6. And then those are the sample problems that they will get. Works with all operations. And I generally, even though in 5th grade we only focus on multiplying and dividing, I still have my students do addition and subtraction practices for the good reinforcement. Again, math games they can play based on standards, and then students can also look for topics as well. A cool feature about Splash Learn is you are able to access this from home. So my students would be able to use this resource even if they weren't in the classroom that day. So again, that's Splash Learn. So really, really cool resource for you to be using in your classroom, especially as we're looking at blended environments. And Splash Learn's, it's really user-friendly as well for the students. It just works their way through it pretty much step by step. One of the cool things here that I didn't talk about, but if you do assign an assessment that you want the students to do first, and then the student goes into their page, so I'm going to sign back in as Abigail again. Since I have something assigned to Abigail, she has to do those two things first before she's able to do any of the gaming or anything like that. So that's really cool because, you can, as the teacher, can set it up so that you're making sure that students are accomplishing what you want them to accomplish first before they go into any of the game modes. So again, Splash Learn and my blended learning classroom. Thanks for watching this video and really look forward to your feedback and discussion.